Hi everyone, I'm Bruce Cadle, and I just want to thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really excited about the variety of authors that are joining us for this seminar, and I'm excited for you because I know that what you're about to learn is going to help you get more readers and sell more books. I want to encourage you to make sure and watch the entire training. It will probably run 35 to 40 minutes, but at the end I'm going to give you some free resources that can help you start getting publicity right away. Well, you're in the right place today if you're a new author trying to figure out how to get the word out about your book, or maybe you're an experienced writer, but your books have never gotten the attention they deserve. Or maybe you're self-published and you kind of have to act as your own marketing department. Or you have a publisher, but they haven't really gotten you much publicity. Or maybe you just can't afford to spend lots of money on advertising to promote your book. Or maybe you're hoping to build a name for yourself to attract a literary agent or a publisher. Well, free publicity can help you overcome all those challenges. I love these quotes from author Barbara Corcoran. Barbara's a multimillionaire real estate investor. She appears frequently on the Today Show as their resident real estate advisor, and she's co-star of ABC's hit TV show Shark Tank. Barbara says it's in the worst of times that publicity is your very best friend. And one of the reasons why that's true is because publicity is free. So even if you don't have any money to market your book or promote yourself, you can get free publicity using the methods that I'm about to teach you. Here's another quote. The most effective way to build a brand is not by spending millions in advertising, but by finding a clever way to keep your name in the press. Here's one more. Publicity is the easiest and cheapest way to have your business step apart from the crowd. That's what you're going to learn today. How to keep your name in the press and how to stand out above the crowd. I'm going to show you the quickest and easiest ways to get free publicity on an ongoing basis. Now, just a quick disclaimer. None of the things that I'm going to teach you involve any kind of publicity stunts or gimmicks or anything like that. I'm going to teach you proven strategies that can help you get lots of free publicity for yourself and for your writing. I'm also going to teach you 3 types of simple media releases that can help you become a brand name. They can increase your visibility online and get you local and national publicity. Now, I'm going to give you as much information as I can over the next 30 or so minutes, but I also promise that I'll show you how to take it further at the end of our time. Well, let me introduce myself, and then we'll just dive into our training. Again, my name is Bruce Cadle. I'm not a movie star. I'm not a celebrity. I am a best-selling author and an entrepreneur, but I've gotten millions of dollars worth of free publicity for myself, for my book, and for organizations that I've led. And honestly, I'm amazed that I've gotten so much publicity, and I'm shocked at how easy it's been. But if I can do this, anyone can do this, and I can teach you how to get lots of free publicity too. I've been featured, quoted, profiled, and appeared in thousands of newspapers, magazines, websites, radio, and TV shows in over 20 different countries. Here's just a few of them. The Today Show, Fox and Friends, CNN, ABC, CBS, MSNBC, British Broadcasting, National Public Radio, iHeartRadio, USA Today, New York Times, Washington Post, LA Times, Chicago Sun-Times, even Rolling Stone magazine. I didn't get my picture on the cover of Rolling Stone, but I was in a story that they did. I'm also a featured expert on About.com, eHow.com, and Selfgrowth.com. And I'm about to teach you the exact strategies that I've used to get all of those interviews. But before we talk about how to get publicity, let me just take a minute to talk about the difference between publicity and advertising. You know, advertising costs money. It costs lots of money, but publicity is free. Advertising has a short life. The second that your ad runs, it's gone. But publicity builds your brand and it stays online forever. I had one media release stay on the New York Times website for over 20 years. Unbelievable. Advertising tells people what you have to sell. Here's my books. I hope you buy them. But publicity tells people who you are and what you have to offer. Advertising is kind of adversarial. People know that you're trying to sell them your books and their guard goes up. But publicity is relational. With advertising, you have to battle for attention among your competitors, but publicity puts the spotlight on you. It makes you the center of attention. And let me just tell you, your potential readers and customers place far more credibility on publicity than on advertising. Let me prove it to you. If I were to ask you who's the most famous doctor in America today, who's the first person that comes to mind? I bet it's one of these guys, isn't it? It's probably either Dr. Phil or Dr. Oz. And Dr. Phil isn't famous because of his family counseling practice, and Dr. Oz isn't famous because he's a heart surgeon. They're famous because of publicity. Here's another example. Let me tell you about a guy named Mike. Mike owns 2 retail stores. He's also written several books. But one of his retail stores is in Nashville, Tennessee. It's less than 3,000 square feet, but he gets almost 4,000 shoppers every week, all because of publicity. Mike used to own a small bicycle shop in Iowa, and people would come to his shop and they'd tell him about old bikes that they'd seen out in barns and farmhouses. And Mike would go check out the old bikes. He'd buy them, bring them back to his shop, and then he'd sell them. And then he thought, people might be interested in what he was doing. And so he got a video camera and he just started videotaping his explorations of old barns and the stuff he'd find in them and the people that he'd meet. And for 4 years, he tried pitching the idea that would make a great TV show. And finally, after 4 years, a TV production company liked the idea. And now Mike's show, American Pickers, has over 5 million viewers every week. And almost 4,000 shoppers walk into just one of his 2 retail stores. Mike's net worth is estimated at $4 million, all because of publicity. Now, I know you may not have any interest in having your own TV show, but the same types of publicity that made Dr. Phil and Dr. Oz and Mike Wolfe famous can help you become a brand name author in your town so you can attract lots of new readers and book sales. Now, I'm going to show you today exactly what to do to get free publicity on an ongoing basis. The methods I'm going to teach you are the quickest and easiest ways to get local or national publicity. These methods work for publicity in newspapers, magazines, radio talk shows, TV shows, news, social media, and blogs. And anyone can follow this method. Everything I'm going to teach you can help you get free publicity, and these are proven methods. These are the exact same things that I've done, exact same strategies that I've used to get millions and millions of dollars worth of free publicity. We're going to talk about the quickest and easiest ways to get publicity. And maybe you don't want to be on TV. Maybe you don't want to be on the radio. Well, then you can just target newspapers or magazines. You get to choose. But the same exact methods work regardless of what type of publicity you'd like to get. And so the quickest and easiest way to get publicity is through media releases. Media releases are kind of like press releases on steroids. Back in the day, press releases were printed out on paper, put in an envelope, mailed to a newspaper to let them know about some newsworthy event. But media releases go out electronically to newspapers, magazines, radio and TV stations, blogs, social media. And media releases aren't complicated. They can just be one page of written content. Or you can add pictures or audio files, a video, maybe a book trailer, or even social media links. Now, I'm not going to spend much time on the format of media releases because at the end of this seminar, I'm going to give you a free download that explains exactly how to format media releases. But if you've ever used old style press releases, or maybe you had a publicist or a PR firm issue press releases for you, it was probably for one of 2 purposes, either to announce your upcoming book, and that might have gotten you a 1 or 2 paragraph blurb in your local paper, maybe a small picture. Or maybe you issued a press release to announce a book signing or an award that you got, or that you attended a major conference for writers. Well, those types of media releases usually just get you a couple paragraphs, and they'll usually include a headshot if you provide one. And the problem with those old style press releases is you usually don't get much coverage, and it's usually buried in the back of your newspaper, along with several similar blurbs about other local authors. So unless your potential reader notices that little article, you probably aren't going to see any increase in book sales. But the media releases I'm going to teach you have gotten me major coverage locally, regionally, and nationally. Now, there's 3 types of media releases we're going to talk about today. The first one is branding media releases. And branding releases help you become recognized as a local or even national expert, so that newspaper reporters, talk show hosts, producers, columnists, and editors seek you out for interviews. And then the second type of media release I'm going to talk about is internet media releases. And internet media releases increase your online audience, help you build a following online. They give you lots of visibility and can drive lots of traffic to your website or to your book on Amazon or barnesandnoble.com. Third type of media release is the story media release. And that can get you actually front page articles in local community newspapers, local magazines, local TV coverage. Now, after we look at those three types of media releases, I'll teach you the best ways to distribute your media releases to magnify your message. So let's get started with what I call branding media releases. Branding media releases position you not just as an author, but as an expert. Here's a great example. Instead of just selling books on green living and health topics, Ron and Lisa Barris have branded themselves as healthy home experts. So they offer helpful advice and tips that have gotten them multiple appearances on the Today Show, the Doctors TV show, Rachel Ray Show, Fox News, NBC Nightly News. They've been in magazines like Red Book Magazine. Author David Zinzenko branded his "Eat This, Not That" concept. So instead of just writing, a healthy cookbook, David came up with this concept that would just grab attention. And so Publicity helped him go from one book to 14 New York Times bestsellers. And so David has sold over 10 million copies of his books. He's built a multi-million-dollar brand, all based on branding himself as the "Eat This, Not That" expert. I'm working on a book. I think it's going to be more popular than David's. I really think there's a much bigger audience for this. Eat this and that. I think there's lots of people that want to know how to do that. Well, I started using branding media releases back in the early 1990s when I led a local nonprofit organization. But branding media releases work for every type of writer, every genre. They're just a great way to draw attention to you, not just to your book, but to you. I live on the East Coast of Florida, so I started sending branding media releases to all my local newspapers, local radio, and Orlando area TV stations. Well, every media release was just focused on short statements from me sharing my perspective on any news items that were related to the cause that my organization was involved in. And so I was positioning myself as someone with something to say about specific topics. Well, I started getting an occasional call from someone that got one of my releases and they wanted to interview me. But then before long, I started getting calls from reporters and TV news crews asking for my response to something breaking in the news that I hadn't even sent out a media release on. See, they assumed that because I had issued media releases sharing my perspective in the past, that I'd have something to say about the stories they were covering. And so those media releases got me hundreds upon hundreds of interviews and positioned me as a local expert. All the TV reporters from Orlando, Florida, which is about an hour away from where I live, they all had me on speed dial. They constantly would call and say, "Bruce, can we come over and meet you and do an interview for the Live at 5 news?" And let me just mention something. There is a huge difference between being a guest on a TV talk show and being interviewed on the news, because news gets repeated over and over and over. The Orlando NBC affiliate starts showing news at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and they basically repeat it at 4:30 and 5 and 5:30 and 6 and again at 11 o'clock and then again the next morning. And so interviews you do on the news get you far more exposure than just a one-shot guest appearance on a talk show. And local newspapers and TV stations love having local experts as go-to guests, people that they can count on to give a local perspective on breaking news. And so this is just perfect for almost any type of author, whatever you write about. When you start seeing yourself not just as someone who wrote a book on a topic, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, but you start seeing yourself as someone with something to say about that topic on an ongoing basis, then you become looked at as an expert. And branding media releases, and by the way, don't call them that to news people. I mean, their goal isn't to make you a brand name. They're just looking for somebody to interview. But branding media releases don't need to be long, never more than a page, and they can be as short as just 3 or 4 paragraphs. And the most important part of a branding media release is the headline. Your headline needs to grab their attention. And the best way to write a great headline is just go to yahoo.com. Scroll down their homepage and notice the type of headlines that their stories use. You'll see national news, local news, human interest. You'll see sports stories. You'll see celebrity news. But they all use brief, attention-getting headlines. And then for the content of a branding release, just give your perspective on a particular topic that's related to your writing. For example, if you're a romance writer, then you could issue a media release directly to your local media, sharing your perspective every time that dating or marriage stories or trends make the news. A member of my local writers group, Lee Boyland, writes political fiction. But he does lots of radio interviews sharing his perspective of current national and international political issues. My friend Lisa Nardini and her sister Gina's first book, The Underwear Dare, is a children's book all about bullying. Well, that's a perfect topic to comment on anytime there's bullying in the news. Authors can issue branding release statements. Every author really can issue a branding media release commenting on national book sales statistics and publishing news. Now there's 4 easy ways to get a continuous source of topics to use for your media releases. Google has a free service called Google Alerts. You can choose any word or phrase related to your book's topic or your genre and instantly see the latest related content from online news, websites, blogs, videos, books, and discussion groups. You can also get ongoing alerts whenever any of the words or phrases you choose appear online. So when there's new stories or new discussion, Google will email you links to all the content. You can choose to get alerts as they happen, or once a day, or once a week. Mention.com is a similar service. If you're tech savvy, you'll probably like Feedly.com. It's a little bit different. You actually create a feed either based on specific subjects or targeting specific websites related to your genre that you want to grab breaking news from them. Or if you want to be super current, another option is just go to yahoo.com, and in the top right-hand section of their homepage, there's an area called Trending Now, and that'll show you the most popular topics that are trending online as of that minute. Now, since I haven't gotten to work with you directly yet, I don't know about your writing, but I'd suggest starting with Google Alerts, and don't worry about the others unless you need more topics or more news to comment on. So, branding media releases position you as an expert by giving you an opportunity to share your perspective on any news related to your book or your genre. Branding media releases are designed to be sent straight to your local media. I'll explain how to do that in a few minutes. And branding releases help members of your local media become aware of who you are and what you have to say. They can get you some local interviews in the short term. In the long term, they can help you become a go-to guest, so the media will contact you over and over and over. I used branding media releases locally and got hundreds of local interviews, but then those local interviews got noticed by national media. For example, because I did lots of interviews with my local Fox TV station, Fox and Friends National Show covered me. Because I did lots of interviews with the NBC TV station in Orlando, the Today Show called and asked me to be a guest. I didn't contact the Today Show, they called me. Because a newspaper interview, local interview, was picked up by Associated Press, within 2 weeks, 200 websites, radio stations, TV stations, and newspapers, including the New York Times and the Washington Post, covered my story. Because I did lots of interviews with my local Gannett newspaper, USA Today started interviewing me. So branding media releases sent to your local media are a big deal. Well, let's spend just a couple minutes talking about internet media releases. Simon Brody uses internet media releases on a regular basis. One of his releases resulted in more than 100,000 hits to his website, over 100 radio interviews. He got newspaper press in every country, and he got national and international TV broadcast. Now, internet media releases aren't sent to your local media outlets. They're posted online. They're distributed through services like PR Log and PR.com, and we'll talk more about those in just a few minutes. Internet media releases can use the same exact content as your branding media releases with just a couple tweaks because they do have an entirely different purpose. The main purpose of internet media releases is just to increase your visibility online. Internet media releases use SEO principles to help two different kinds of people find you: reporters and readers. Reporters who are researching a topic or they're looking for someone to interview can find you through your internet media releases, and so can potential readers who might just be looking for books in your genre. Internet media releases can be longer than branding media releases, but they don't have to be. And the only tweaks you need to make is to integrate keywords related to your book, related to your topics that you write about, in the actual release so that people searching for those keywords will find your release. Here's an example. Let's say that a reader's trying to find some new young adult fiction. Well, where do they look? Not the yellow pages. They go to Google. And so they Google something like most popular young adult fiction writers. Well, they'll see lots of different results. Most of them are links to writers' websites, but they can also find a media release about you. Maybe about a book signing, or maybe your perspective on statistics of young adult fiction, how much sales there are, or things just that you get from the publishing industry. Well, these releases grab their attention because they're so different than the other search results. So they click on the release. They get to read about you, your books, your story. Media releases give you tremendous credibility, and so readers visit your website and then they buy your books. Internet media releases can drive lots of readers to your website. And so you should always include in your internet releases, always include links to your website. Well, now let's talk about story media releases. These are the easiest for writers especially, and they're the most fun. Remember I said that the old type of press releases usually only get you a couple paragraphs buried in the local paper. Well, I've used story media releases to get front page feature articles in local newspapers multiple times, and you can too. But it does involve a completely different type of media release. Now, just a warning, don't use this strategy for national media. Don't even use it if you're in a decent sized city and have a daily paid newspaper. Don't use it for them. They'll be offended. You'll just make them mad. But this works very well for community newspapers, weekly papers, community magazines. So instead of using the format that I talked about for branding releases and internet media releases, you're going to write this release as if you're writing a newspaper story. In this case, you're actually interviewing yourself. So write it in the third person and then include quotes from you and include some pictures. Here's an example where I sent a story media release to a local community newspaper. They adapted it a little and they put it on the front page of their paper. And people really notice this. Even though it's a smaller paper with smaller circulation, people really notice. I got lots of response from that article. Here's another example. To promote a seminar that I did for authors, I wrote the headline, I wrote the story, and I even submitted my headshot, and they ran everything exactly as I submitted it, and the seminar was standing room only. Now that was just for a specific event, but the same thing works for any human interest in general feature stories. Now the reason that story media release strategy works is because newspapers, especially smaller community papers, are severely understaffed and underfunded. Many of them are using freelancers that may only get paid $25 to $50 for every story they write. So if you submit an article they can use and you include some pictures they can use, then they don't have to assign a reporter or a photographer. You just made their job a lot easier, which is a huge key in getting lots of free publicity. So grab a copy of your local paper, look for an article about an author that writes maybe something similar. It doesn't have to be similar, but just a local author, and then note the format that the reporter used to write the story. Now, write a story media release based on your story, or your book, your brand, and submit it to the editor of the specific section of the paper that covers that topic. Start with the smallest paper in town. I've just discovered over and over that free weekly papers that get delivered maybe to every door or even delivered through the mail, papers like Hometown News, really get lots of attention and can bring you lots of readers. I love Robert Kiyosaki's story. Robert wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but he couldn't get a publisher. So he published his book himself. He ordered 1,000 copies. And then he hired a publicist, and he paid $8,000 a month for a publicist. That publicist got him, in a month and a half, one interview on a small station. So Robert fired his publicist. He enrolled in a coaching program to learn how to get publicity on his own, and has gotten lots and lots of publicity. He went on to sell 26 million copies. I mean, his message has just been multiplied and magnified. So we've talked about how to use branding media releases, internet media releases, story media releases. Now let's talk about how to distribute your media releases so that you can magnify your message. Trisha Anderson distributed releases every month, just month in, month out, because it really is a numbers game. And one of her releases got the attention of a small national magazine that covered her story. Trisha told me she got 4,000 responses, 4,000 calls, emails, letters, and faxes. So here's how to distribute your media releases. We talked earlier about sending branding releases to the local media. Well, for radio and TV stations, just go to their website and look for the contact button or link. And you may even see a submit news story option or a contact form that you can use to email them your branding release. Always put your release in an email. Just cut and paste it. Never attach it to an email, or it's probably going to get blocked. And for newspapers, it's very important that you target the appropriate reporter or the editor for the type of story you're submitting. So look at their online edition of the paper. Look for the section of the paper that your writing relates to. And at the end of each article, you'll probably see the reporter's name and email. And you can just send it directly to them or to their editor. Some newspapers actually have a form that you can use to submit media releases through. And if they do, then go ahead and use that. Joanna Penn sent a media release for her book to her local newspaper, and they ran this article. She lives in a city of 4.5 million people in Australia. And this article led to a TV interview, and that led to a blog post in an online magazine. That led to a follow-up profile piece in the same newspaper. And then she got a feature article from a different newspaper, a free newspaper that went out to 671,000 people, all because of one media release sent to one local newspaper. Now, for internet media releases, first, always put your release on Google+. I've had releases that I've posted on Google+ rank on the front page of Google within 24 hours. Now, secondly, you want to use internet media release services. Some of them charge anywhere from $99 to $499 just to distribute one release. But there's also free ones, and the best two free services are that I recommend are PR.com and PRlog.com. Now, PR.com won't let you add images or video to your release for free. They make you pay for that, but PRlog.com allows you to use images or video at no extra charge. Now, if your story has big potential, you can submit it to Associated Press's regional contacts, and I think that URL is actually wrong. I believe it's ap.org, and then just look up the closest reporter to you and contact them directly. Also, always put all of your media releases on your own website, because that will attract more traffic to your website. That will help readers get to know you better. That will help the members of the media see what type of a guest that you would be. And then as you begin getting interviews, start building your own database for direct media contacts, because once someone has interviewed you, it's far easier to get them to interview you again, to cover your story again, than to have to start a new relationship with someone else. Artist Drew Brophy uses media releases to get lots of publicity in magazines and on TV shows. Now, remember that nothing I've shared with you today is theory or stuff that might work. This is exactly what I've done to get multiple millions of dollars worth of free publicity. These strategies will work for every author, every newspaper, magazine, radio, TV station. Depends on advertising to make money. The only way they can sell advertising is if they have readers, listeners, or viewers. And the way they get readers, listeners, and viewers is by constantly providing fresh content. So they need you. They need your story. They'd love to hear, how you became a writer. Why did you start writing? What led you to write the fiction or the nonfiction works that you do. They'd love to know your perspective. And it doesn't matter if you're just starting out or if you've published multiple books. Free publicity can help you attract more readers and sell more books. Now, I'm not sure why you showed up here today. Maybe you're hoping to earn part-time or even full-time income as a writer. Maybe you're tired of pouring your heart into your writing and then you only sell 3 or 4 books a month. Maybe you believe your writing is as good as the most successful writers on the New York Times bestseller list, but you need to get your name out there to draw some attention. Maybe you're tired of doing a book signing where your best friend and your mom are the only people who show up. Or maybe you can't afford to advertise, but you've got to do something to get the word out about your books. Or maybe your dream is to be a best-selling author, but you need lots of publicity in order to sell more books. Well, whatever your reason for coming here today, I'm guessing that you're ready to try something new to attract more readers and sell more books. Now, you probably don't want to just go back to business as usual. So imagine what would happen if your local newspaper featured you on a front page article. Imagine how many new readers you might get if people hear you being interviewed on local talk radio shows and see you on local TV. Well, if there's one thing that you can take away from this training, it's that I've cracked the code on getting lots of free publicity. But I don't have any superpowers. Everything I've done can be duplicated by you to help you get lots of free publicity for your writing. Free publicity really can help you get lots of new readers and sell lots of books. So the obvious question is, how can you apply these strategies so that you can start attracting more readers? Well, life is all about choices, and you basically have 2 choices. You can take what I've shared today, and I hope it's been helpful. I know I've given you a lot of information in a short period of time, but I hope it's been helpful. You can take what I've shared today and put together your own publicity strategy, or I can come alongside you and quickly guide you through the whole process. I'm about to launch a 4-week coaching program where I'm going to work with a small group of both new and experienced authors to help you implement the strategies that have gotten me on the Today Show, New York Times, and hundreds of other newspapers and radio and TV shows and magazines. So what's my coaching program? Well, it's a complete step-by-step system that's designed to take you by the hand and help you create the tools that you'll need to get a continuous stream of free publicity. Now, here's how my coaching program works. Week 1, I'll show you exactly how to write your first branding release, how to position yourself as an expert, how to write great headlines, and at the end of week 1, you'll have a finished professional quality branding media release. Week 2, I'll show you how to increase your visibility online through SEO. I'll show you how to search engine optimize your media releases so that they rank well on Google, Yahoo, and Bing, so that both reporters and customers can find you. I'll teach you how to add links to your media releases that point to your website, and I'll teach you how to submit every release directly to the search engines. Now, week 3, I'll show you how to write story media releases, and I know you'll have a lot of fun doing that. I mean, who's a better guest? Who's a better person to interview than yourself, right? And then week 4, I'll show you how to set up free accounts, and I'll let you look over my shoulder as I use PR.com and PRlog.com and Google Plus to submit media releases. 1 month from now, you can be getting free publicity and have a system in place, a simple system that you can repeat over and over to continue to get free publicity year after year. And in addition to the free training, I've got some bonuses for you. First bonus is a private members-only Facebook group. I'll monitor it every weekday so you can ask me any questions that you may have. And I'll give you custom guidance to make sure that you get the most benefit possible. Second bonus is a resource package of media release templates. These are kind of fill-in-the-blank templates that you can use to create your branding releases, your internet releases, and your story releases. And the media release template pack are valued at $99. And then the third bonus is a media database with contact info for over 20,000 members of the media, local and national newspapers, magazines, radio, and TV. And that media database alone is valued at $499. And then the final bonus is a directory of free media release services. You'll get a complete list of 50 free media release services so that you can find one that specializes in your area of writing and that just is the right fit for you. And that directory has a $99 value. So I know you're thinking, okay, Bruce, this sounds great, but what's the cost? Well, I've tried to make this as affordable as possible. And so the total investment for all 4 weeks of coaching, the private daily support group, the fill-in-the-blank media release templates, the media database with over 20,000 contacts, and the distribution list is only $199. Enrollment's limited because I really want to be able to interact with you as much as possible over the next month. And I like to reward action takers, so the first 10 people to enroll save 50%. So you actually, if you act now, can get the entire coaching program and all the bonuses for only $99. I mean, think about it. $99 can get you a small ad in the newspaper for one day, or maybe a banner ad on a website for a few days or even a week. Or you can enroll in my coaching program and get free publicity for the rest of your life. Now, I know that you're going to love this coaching program. I know you're going to get lots of value from it. But if for any reason you aren't satisfied or you decide that free publicity just isn't right for you, I offer a 30-day unconditional 100% money-back guarantee. And if for some reason you miss some of the training, don't worry. I'll record everything. You'll have lifetime access to it. My coaching program is the fastest and the easiest way for you to start getting publicity. And it's the safest way because I'll be teaching you all of my proven strategies. No need for trial and error. No need to go out and make a bunch of mistakes. I've already made them for you, and I'll help you avoid them. So here's what to do now. Just click on the yellow button under this video window. And when you click on that, you'll see a secure order page. You can click on checkout if you'd like to pay with a credit card, or click on the PayPal button if you'd like to use a PayPal account. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I really do hope this has been helpful, and I look forward to getting to know you in my coaching program. I look forward to helping you get lots and lots of publicity. Now, if you're here today and you're not interested in my coaching program, I still want you to have the free resources that I mentioned earlier. So just shoot me an email at bruce@perpetualpublicity.com. Tell me what type of books you write. Tell me a little bit about yourself, and I'll send you a media release format guide and some other free resources that I think will really be helpful for you. Thanks again for joining us. Sorry for those of you that were delayed. We had some technical issues, but hope you've enjoyed this. Hope it's been beneficial to you. And I really look forward to helping you get lots and lots of publicity. Hope you have a great day. God bless.